Okay, we'll call the Noble County Council meeting Monday, November 3rd, 2025 to order. And let the record show that all members are present with the exception of Trey Forbes. And Trey had texted me a little bit ago and said that he was not feeling well, so hopefully he gets better. So, correspondence. I had a couple things that I kind of noted. And I think you guys probably all got an email about the state treasurer being up here November 10th. I don't know if there was a time on that, I don't remember seeing a time.
Robbie just told me 3:15 or 3, something like that.
Okay.
Not a real convenient
Yeah.
for anybody.
Yeah. Also, I got an email from Drug Free Noble County about the annual luncheon, which is Wednesday, December 17th at noon. The CLC, and that's celebrating Judge Michael Kramer's. They always had an annual luncheon at that time, so if anybody's interested in that. And then we have the insurance open enrollment is November 7th. Anybody's on the county insurance. And then the other thing I had was regards to UMAX. I don't know if you wanna bring that up with your email that you sent out with regards to next year.
Yeah, I talked over my wife and I've decided I'm not gonna run for county council next time around. We've got some opportunities to travel with my son and daughter, so we're gonna take that opportunity. And I just didn't feel I'd have the time to do it. But I wanted to let Doug know that, and I gave this advance notice.
Yeah, so Max and I talked previously too, so sad to see you go, but I totally understand, so, and you got some time left in the saddle. So,
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
But if you know any good candidates too, Shelley Williams mentioned that, if you, in District 4 there, so if you know anybody, good candidate, let me and Doug or Shelley know.
You know when your term ends, man?
You know, the primaries are May, so it'll be January of 2027, I believe it is.
I didn't have any other correspondence that I noted. I don't know if anybody else did or no. Okay, we'll move on to the minutes from last month's meeting. Chance to look at those. Any additions, corrections on the minutes from last month? Not only entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Brandon to approve the minutes. Second by Tom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Should I abstain? I've read them, but I wasn't here. I've read them, but, and watched the video.
That'd be 5.
Do I have to though? I've watched the video
Oh, if you watched the video,
and read the minutes.
okay, read these, you watched the video so you know
Yeah.
exactly, then you can vote.
Okay, so.
Yes.
Show 6-0. Committee reports. Do you have any committee reports?
I have one, Doug. Last week, we had 2 emergency board meetings for Council on Aging. The executive director resigned under some turmoil with employees and herself, and they're in the process of looking for applications. I think they've got 5 good applicants right now for the executive director. Drivers are up to full speed. They had some walk out, but it basically was some turmoil within between employees and upper management. And the board president stepped in and really carried the weight to get them through this tough time. So I just wanted to relay that Sharon is no longer there, Sharon Montoya, and they are in the process of looking for a new executive director. I think there was a couple of new board members, and Mary, would that be is that your brother? There's a Y song that's, okay, I didn't know if you had a brother, I just saw that name and
No,
maybe,
I just have the one. I mean, it would be a brother-in-law, but no.
okay,
Different branch of Y songs.
okay, that's all I have.
Any other committee reports?
I attended the health department's quarterly meeting. And aside from just getting the stats from the last quarter, they did mention that the director, the health department director, she's gonna be stepping down at the end of the year. So I think they might already have somebody in mind for who's gonna take her place.
Anybody else leaving?
I heard all in the door.
Any other committee reports? Old business? Do we have any that I know of? New business? Anything that I'm aware of either? So Zach, a little bit ahead of schedule, but how you doing? Always good? Who's coming down?
Well, with that, we'll get into the engineering agenda. First item is highway storm damage. We went through the consultant selection phase. Structure Point was selected to be the designer for this project. We just approved the selection at the commissioner's last meeting. We are getting started on the expansion project. So, community crossings, we got the application submitted, that you guys had previously provided financial support. It was accepted, so I provided that correspondence. Additionally, we also got our bridge asset management plan for community crossings submitted, so next year's projects are eligible for both road or bridge or whatever we would want to do. But we're quite a bit ahead on community crossings. Any questions on either of those items? Before we get to the federal aid letters of support, I did some additional documentation. We received our bridge inventory inspection information from United. They presented that to the commissioners at their last meeting, which is basically our 2026 inspections. I'm in process of updating our annual planning, our annual and our long-term planning for our bridges. What you see right now is basically an incorporated outlook of how we're gonna make adjustments based on the new bridge work. The biggest thing you see here is there's a significant amount of federal aid. Those bottom half of those projects that are federal aid, there's just gonna be a large volume. You'll see that we have 3 scoped going this round, and then basically another project for each of the following years. There's also 6 local projects that we're gonna plan on attacking here in the next 8 years, give or take. So, like I said, this is just a draft we're working on. Once the commissioners approve it, it'll all be uploaded on our website as final. But as we incorporate these changes, the big takeaway is the continued reliance on federal aid funding. So with that, I do have the projects we previously talked about scoping, which are 3 bridge projects and then the 600 West project. I'm not sure exactly how you guys want to do this, so we can do them one at a time or all together, but I'll run through the bridge projects to start, and if you want to make a motion at that point, you can. So 3 bridge projects I have, as you can see, in the bridge replacement plan are Bridge 75, 45, and 65. First one I have, Bridge 75. Total project budget of $3.8 million, with $3,048,000 being requested in federal funds and $762,000 being our local match. The phase breakdown is on the second page. The next one I have is Bridge 45. Total project amount of $2,963,000. $2,370,400 being the federal aid request, $592,600 being our local match. And the last one being Bridge 65, total amount of $4,230,000, $3,384,000 being the federal aid request, and $846,000 being our local match.
What's the total match on all three of those, Zach? Do you have that tally there, right? I can probably,
I mean, it'll be broke down by phase over
Okay.
time, but we're looking at $10 million between the three bridges where we would have 20% vested, so around 2 million. I mean, if they all got awarded at the same time, they would all hit in 2031, what we're projecting, so that'd have to be something we do a little bit of planning for. We may have to move some of the local projects back, but I mean, that's the problem with me updating this. Like a year from now, it's gonna be different because so much of our funding is based on grant opportunity. So I would say this is idealistic. Ideally, we can, keep these grants coming, keep the projects moving, but it is all subject to funding.
Is there any indication that you've had as far as the federal funding, if it's getting scaled down or anything? I mean, is it, everything's kind of business as usual?
The only changes we've seen is they've done a drawback on the DBE program, which is Disadvantaged Business Enterprises. As part of some of the DEI changes at the federal level, that's been taken out. So here lately, we had the construction inspection for one of our projects that was currently going through consultant selection get pulled. DBE requirements have been taken away, and then it had been reposted. Other than that, we really haven't had any changes. I mean, the federal side of funding is very similar to the state side. It's all generated gas revenue, so it does function a lot different than some of the other income or property taxes.
And the, out of those bridge projects, I mean, if you were to prioritize them, how would you do so? I mean, what's our biggest?
I mean, 75 will be our top priority, 45 would be the second one, and then 65 would be third.
Do the bridge numbers, this is a random question, but do they correspond with like a geographical location, or are they just given as the bridges were created?
It's a total mess. So you have all the original bridge numbers, then you have the federal bridge numbers, which used to align because it'd be by county, so all of our bridge numbers would be 57-001. But the problem is over time, we have some that we rebuild it 12, now it's 12B. We have other ones, back then they used to be like Bridge 21, now it's 10,000 in 21. So, I mean, they've changed how they've done it over the years, so it is kind of a mess.
Just curious.
If it's okay with you folks, I'll have him go ahead and talk about the 600 West, and then we'll circle back to the bridges, if that's okay.
So the other project I prepared, I would consider this more of a capital improvement. It's County Road 600 West between 775 North and 900 North. Total project amount of $9,403,000, $7,282,400 being the federal aid request, and $1.8 million in change being a local match. This is a road job, which would ideally be one of potentially 5 phases to get added shoulders on 600 West from US 6 all the way up to the county line. This would be a logical starting point. It's north of the railroad, south of 900 North intersection. It would be the longest stretch of a mile and a quarter. So functionally, that's why we're starting there. I wouldn't necessarily call it added travel lanes, though functionally it's going to work very similarly, where we're adding a full 8-foot paved shoulder. So you're adding a lot of room to the paved cross section of the roadway. That would help facilitate the oversized overweight traffic that we get. The majority of our permitting is on that one section of road. There's also a lot of mixed traffic types with the Amish traffic up there. You also get some seasonal farming implements coming through the area. So mostly just trying to add cross-sectional areas so we don't get any of those collisions in the area. We preemptively lower the speed limit, or working through that on 600 West to get to 45 miles per hour also. This would also do some profile correction. If you've been through there, it's fairly hilly. Problem is, with all those corrections, if you add travel lanes, it would knock you down some hills. The amount of cut and fill, just the physical quantity of earthwork to be removed, I mean, it's expensive per mile. Which you can see in that $9 million gets you a mile and a quarter.
On the, where you have the budget schedule, at the
Oh.
top of each one of those, Zach, is that?
I'll pass this around this way.
So can you just kind of, with that, I mean, so that's what you're saying, the commitment from the county would be in each of those given years to pay
Yeah, so you take,
down the funding?
yeah, so you see the phase, which kind of correlates with this bridge plan, what we're doing each year at phase, and then you can strip out which parts of the budget you need at that time. The biggest thing is the majority of these, the heaviest hit is in the construction here, because construction obviously is the most expensive. You also have the construction inspection. So a lot of these financial plans,
No, I've got it.
I mean, construction years, they're the biggest thing we plan around.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Do you think there's a good chance of that being awarded federal funding because of maybe the safety issue?
I think it has a better chance than average. I mean, we tried the baseline road projects several years in a row and it failed. It's roughly the same project size. But I think what you have going on this one is there's a vertical clearance issue on State Road 5. So it's an issue the state has. You can't get oversized loads through Ligonier because of the railroad bridge there. And I reached out to them, do you have any plans of correcting this in the future? Which they said, no, we don't. It's a railroad issue that we have no control over. So I think that is gonna be a strong factor in getting support on this.
Amish population also, you saying, is that a factor?
I think they'd be highly supportive. I think first, just safety in general, with everything I said, I mean, that 60-second elevator pitch on is mostly what we're gonna be pushing if we do the application. Then, we got a lot of different traffic here, it's very busy. I mean, we don't have, thank God, we don't have the accidents for it to qualify as a safety project, but safety is on the forefront of this one.
And I think, Zach, I, watched or read something, you've got signatures from all the property owners already? Like you already had a meeting with them or?
No, what we got, typically what we do is petitions, so a lot on safety type issues where we would do a speed study or a road safety audit or something in-house to, if there was a safety type concern, we do that, or changing the speed limit, that's all in a petition process. So that petition process is more related to 45 mile per hour speed limit change that we're already doing.
Oh,
But I mean, a lot of times when we're getting those requests, they're wanting something specific as a solution, but a lot of times they don't realize they're bringing a problem. Potentially what they're wanting as a solution isn't necessarily the right answer. I think changing the speed limit short, I mean, that'll help with the issue, but it's not gonna correct it. I think this is like an actual correction. And the reason it's so effective is because the cost, I mean, you're literally bringing everything out there up to current standards.
The 600 West project compared to the bridges, if you were to prioritize bridges over 600 West or vice versa, how would you, I mean, what are you pushing the hardest for, Zach?
I mean, they give you a place in the application to put the priorities of your applications, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I've had it where we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and they've given us not necessarily 1, 2. They've given us 2 and 4. A lot of times it comes to where it fits in their programming. So I mean, they may release $100 million. They're going to have a certain amount of it set aside for bridges because that's just the way it works. They're going to have a certain side set for safety, capital improvements. So the problem with this is, I mean, it's a big project and it's going to be going against other big projects. But in years past, we've done that. We put 4 projects in. We've got 4 projects awarded just because in their individual categories, so they were strong applications.
I guess what I'm asking is if you had a pool of money that you could either do the bridge projects or the 600 West, what would be your preference,
I mean,
if there is one?
sadly, we have to go with the bridge projects because we don't have alternative funding. We're stuck in a very weird position compared to most counties. I mean, This kind of illustrates it. We are doing an extremely large amount of federal aid. We're already 2 feet in. It doesn't make any sense to stop now, so. I would go after at least 2 bridge projects. Having 3 in 1 year is I mean, we can do it, we're building 3 federal aid bridges next year, but it's not ideal for our budget, so that's my thought is, you know, put the 2 bridges, 1 and 2, put the road project in there if you guys approve it. And then the last one is basically, if you put these projects through federal aid, they get denied, you'll either get an explanation that something was deficient or it was at least reviewed. That gives it a better chance for the next cycle. So, you know, if we ended up getting 2 bridges in a road job and then we have 1 Bridge 65 ready to go next cycle, we onboard a new application there with it, I mean, I think that'd be sustainable too. So I'd say at least 1 or 2 of the bridge projects needs done at a minimum.
The 600 west, you said is a mile and a quarter, so, and I can't remember total what it is, but, I mean, your long-term goal would be to finish that road all the way up to the county line and widen it.
Mhm.
The mile and a quarter stretch we're talking about is probably the most expensive, if I'm not mistaken, just because of the hill, or is it pretty much gonna be that kind of money all the way through?
Well, I mean, the problem is you gotta factor inflation in there. I mean, that is such a big driver for what we do now, but yeah, ideally, you wouldn't have another one more expensive, with the caveat, if you go south of there, you're dealing with the railroad and you're also dealing with a bridge. Trying to do added anything on a cross section on a bridge is expensive. So that last section could be more expensive, but because you have a bridge project in a road project.
And that shows that 2031, that's why that number's inflated, because of that railroad issue. Is that,
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, we get this grant, we put this application in, it gets awarded in March, we go through all the red tape of consultant selection, FEMA's request, like getting the federal funding. It would be this time next year before I'm telling any consultant to start working on it, and then you add all the permits, the design. Problem with these projects is they take forever just because of all the federal requirements, so 5 years at any type of inflation adds up quickly. But yeah, these are, I mean, right now the application is for 2031 construction projects.
On each one of them, correct?
Zach, what do you think the possibility of that being a safety project would be, that they would pay 100%?
Well, it'd be 90-10, but
Oh, 90.
the problem with the safety is you have to get it basically certified on a cost-benefit ratio. And the benefit, the cost has to be less than the benefit. So to show a benefit, you basically have to show what are the crash statistics before and what do we propose they be after. You have to show that you'd be fixing. We don't have enough bad accidents, you know, fatalities is the #1 driver. And luckily, we haven't had that yet, but like I say, as the Amish population continues to expand in the area, you see like trucking continue to expand in the area, I mean, it does seem like it's a recipe for disaster if we just choose to do nothing for the foreseeable future. I mean, lowering the speed limit, I think is helpful, but there's only so much you can do with signage and regulation. At a certain point, you're gonna have to go out there and physically fix these site distance issues, fix a cross section. I mean, there's only so much that we can do in-house, which is why we look at these grants when we do.
As far as the funding and I hate to keep beating the drum with Senate Bill 1, but, the bridge projects obviously come out of Cume Bridge Fund.
Mhm.
Just refresh my memory if you would on how those monies are generated.
I mean, Cume Bridge is property tax based, but we've kind of hedged ourselves against SB 1 internally with the changes between the sheriff and the highway split. So you guys changed us from 75% to 90. Even if we did have a decent downturn, I don't think it would be the same magnitude as the changes we've already proactively made. So we went up looking from, low 700,000s annually to around 900,000 is what we're projecting for our bridge fund through the CCD. But that fund's running even shorter than we think. I mean, that only necessitates the need to go up to the grant money,
Right.
because that's the only way these projects are getting done now.
And then the 600 West, that's from motor vehicle.
Which I will say, and I know this was maybe a point of contention, but we did pass the increased tax for the buggy plates. Currently, it's generating around 90,000 with a 150% increase, even if you factor out the new fees that we're paying to the township trustees, should be in excess of $200,000 annually. You factor that out from 2026 to 2031, I mean, there's $1 million right there. Not to say that would necessarily be earmarked, but just to give you an idea of increased revenue versus project load.
And I think in that meeting I watched with the commissioners, when they came in, they kind of wanted an earmark, so, I don't think you're saying you're gonna do that, but the township trustee kind of wanted that kept in their township, which you guys, discussed, but.
Well, I get where they're coming from, but I just think that was a lack of understanding on their side, I want X amount of money to stay in my township as well. Any given year, we do one of these big projects in your township, that offsets whatever funding you would have given us for decades. So, I get where they're giving, any given year, yeah, maybe there's light work in your township, but as we've seen with our township ratings over the years, every single one of our townships has improved drastically over the last decade.
Back to the 600 West, is there other projects that you see in the future other than 600 West that you're concerned with that would be, the number wouldn't be such a big hit?
I mean, we looked at the baseline road projects, and they're kind of shelved for the time being. I'm not here to create projects just to create projects, so this is one of those things that happened organically, and nothing else had kind of come up to this point. The only other thing that I'm actively patrolling is our safety projects, which I don't even see that as, in direct competition with what this would be more of a capital improvement. So we've continued to do safety projects. We have our 50 West, 100 North project going right now. Anything that I can ever get that's eligible or qualified, we'll continue to do that. But currently, no, this is 600 West is all we have our sights set on as far as major improvements for the foreseeable future. And the thing is, maybe don't build all 5 phases, or maybe it takes 20 years. I don't know. Each one you put in there is going to improve the safety. It's going to give you an outlet, especially if traffic gets choked down in an area because it starts to back up because of an oversized load or whatever it is. If you have a mile stretch where you have some room for movement, I think that would be a release valve for people that would otherwise get frustrated and make bad decisions when driving.
Zach, I watched the video, but I don't think anybody asked this on the commission meeting, but does the state and the county have a contract for oversized loads besides coming and getting a permit and then paying for it? Is there a contract that says they can use the county roads?
No, the state permits their own oversized roads for only state routes, and we have our own oversized overweight in-house permitting.
But I'm saying to allow them to use the county roads.
That's what we permit. Like if you wanna have oversized overweight, you need to apply for a permit with the county highway.
Got it.
Zach, I'm just curious, okay, we talk about 600 West project. I know a year and a half ago, we sat here and we talked about the baseline project, which I think's dead, but why didn't we go back and revisit that? There wasn't a need then, but once it died?
I mean, we had prepared it, it had not received funding 2 years in a row. In the third year, we looked at it, and based on inflation, the board as a whole, I think, didn't see the benefit for the cost.
Yeah, I think we voted that one down.
Yeah, nobody's voted it down, but, okay, I just.
Well, I mean, I think we're doing the same thing we're doing here right now,
We're
trying to figure, yeah.
Okay.
I will say this project, between the two, this one has a ton of public support. I think it'll also appeal to NDOT as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just the number that scares me, but 600 West has been talked about for years and years because of the, traffic, the
Well, and
homes and that being carpet.
And pre-COVID, these numbers would be 6 million or less. I mean, the problem I continue to have is like, we are post-COVID inflation. There's an extra 30% that you see across the board that's not going anywhere, but you're right, when you look at it, same thing we did on baseline. We actively saw that jump, and it does scare you a little bit to see how big those numbers are.
Any other questions? For Zach? What I think I'd like to do, if everybody's good with that, is we'll look at the bridge projects first. And, since it is two different pools of money, so to speak, we'll look at the bridge projects first, and then the 600 West. So,
Now, I'll just add in there, the commissioners reviewed the same material you guys are reviewing today at their last meeting, and they did approve all four, just so you know.
okay, thank you. Okay. Any further discussion, or I'd entertain a motion on bridge projects, either all, none, or any combination thereof?
I'll make a motion to approve all three bridge project applications.
We have a motion from Brandon to approve the bridge projects on 45, 65, and 75.
I'll second.
We have a second from Casey. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, now the 600 West project. And I guess going back, Jackie, if you could add up the numbers on all three of those projects for us, we probably should have had that as part of the motion, although they're in there.
All of the projects would be 2.2,600,000
Okay, thank you.
or $600.
Okay, so the 600 West project, any further discussion on that?
I think it's a worthwhile project. I mean, I guess there haven't been the fatalities, which is great, but if the trend of that road's usage keeps going up, maybe we can prevent something. Maybe the only other road that's probably more dangerous is 1200 North, but that would be the Granges. So I think it's a worthwhile project.
I agree with Brandon, and the other fact that the wheel tax or the Amish buggy tax, you raise that, so, I mean, they're paying their fair share, so I think that's beneficial that they have a little bit of safety involved. And I think that may take care of that, because you said there would be extended width, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole goal of that project. I do think it is part of paying the fair share or whatever you wanna call it, but also remember that, this goes through, we would likely wanna do the rest of the phases too to make it actually effective.
Okay. Any other questions for Zach on 600 West? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 600 West funding.
So I have a motion from Max to approve the funding. Do I have a second? I have a second from Brandon. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. That's good. Anything else? Any other
for the board when it comes to employee hiring, retention.
Excuse me, Zach, do you have your letters just to move around to sign?
I just passed them out.
If you don't, I have a copy here, but
I have 75. Yeah, I'll start with this one. I got 75.
sorry.
So as far as employee hiring, we continue to do a decent job of keeping positions filled best we can. We currently have one operator position. But, I mean, we're running into the same issue, a lot of it's coming down to wages. Had an interview last week for that operator position. Person seemed very qualified. They worked for the city of Fort Wayne, they were looking for something a little bit closer to home, which is why we had appeal. But when we got into the interview talking about the compensation, the interview kind of ended there. They said they couldn't take a $6 pay cut, so that just gives you an idea of the difference between us and the city of Fort Wayne. I am concerned locally. Albion just passed a motion for 15% raises across the board. I think their CDLs are roughly equivalent. I mean, I looked at the gateway salaries, you can't tell how much is overtime and what's straight time, but they appear to be roughly equivalent or better than what we're paying our CDLs currently. So 15% on that is, I mean, I doubt they have as many positions as us, but it's, I mean, our local factor is gonna take a hit on that front. So, you know, with those two updates, kind of scratching my head on what we can do or what we need to do to be competitive long-term before it becomes an issue. Talk to Jackie, I think maybe something that the council may like is an update from Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy. They did the original job classifications. I know a lot of money was spent at the time of the job study, but a good amount of that was probably just doing classifications. I didn't know if having a third party, just salary information updated countywide, or highway, or however you wanna do it, if that would be something worthwhile. Jackie reached out to them and they thought if they were just doing updates for the highway and sheriff, it'd be around $15,000. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of paying for information, but I mean, I need to get a certain level of confidence through that we're paying under wages and we need to correct it somehow, so. I guess with all that, I was gonna open it up to the council. Not sure what I'm supposed to do at this point.
My opinion, I think before we go that way, we need to figure out what we're gonna do with HR. And that was part of the discussion at the commissioners meeting the other day. That sounds like they're waiting on the council to maybe either have a meeting with the commissioners or figure something out with that, so I think that's where we need to start. That's my opinion.
You know, I'm like you, Zach, I mean, the sheriffs have information readily available to look at salaries, you as well, so I don't know that I'd be a fan of outsourcing 15 grand for somebody to tell us what we can find. You know, and we've looked at the information you've given us, and we've looked in past years and usually every budget cycle with the sheriff's department, because that information is readily available too, so. I mean, the problem obviously is with both departments, you know, I mean, it's hard to keep people and get people. The HR thing, I know we've had discussions about that, to Casey's point, I think, you know, that's something that I think, you know, not speaking for every member of the council, but we've talked about that before, the need for that with as many employees as we have. I mean, we've got, what, 270, I don't know, 230? And, you know, it would definitely provide a lot of continuity to hiring and you know, a lot of things across the board. So each department, especially with the sheriff's department, they have their own SOPs and you have some of your own as well. But it would provide a lot of continuity for all the other departments. I think it's needed. I don't know how where we go from here. I know, from what I understand, I mean, the commissioners are looking at it hard. But I guess, Gary, if you'd speak to that, and just, I mean, what are you looking for from the council to push ahead, HR person, department, or, I mean, what's the feeling of the commissioners?
Well, you know, I think the commissioners wholeheartedly agree that we need to go down that path to look at HR. You know, Jackie does a great job as a county coordinator, but I think with the number of employees we have, full-time, part-time, contract, all the issues we face with new hires, people are leaving, the continuity that things happen. Cause you have some department heads decide they wanna do it their way and not involve HR, and it creates a kind of a swamp to get things taken care of. And we've got to do something to correct that. You know, and I don't know how you get every department head on board. You can have a county handbook, but then you have those that don't believe they have to abide by it. So but we have to make the system work with the number of employees we have here. And I think HR is a time we gotta move forward on it.
So how do we do that? What's our first steps?
Do they approve the position and we approve the funding, or is it vice versa?
I mean, typically, it would, at least my opinion, it would come from the commissioners to say, hey, we want one, or we want two people, or whatever, and then you come to us for the funding for those positions.
As far as,
HR.
HR.
oh, as far as, he said one or two, but.
Well, I don't know what you guys are thinking, so.
No, we're just thinking one.
A full-time position,
Oh,
correct?
yeah, correct, yes.
But no support staff or,
Right now, I'm going to say no,
okay,
but, you know, I know there are some counties, Jason County, DeKalb County has, HR plus one secretary that works for her, I believe. Now, I don't know how the other counties line up, I don't know. But there's just,
And the coordination will probably have to be with the auditor's office because of payroll and everything else, so there could possibly be an employee or half employee there, or in the future that, you know, either is trainable, you know, I think that's a good starting point is discussion, you know, it would have to be in conjunction with, you know, payroll and insurance people, and, I mean, that's a whole 9 yards. So, and that's my humble opinion, that I think whoever the auditor is at the time, if it's Shelley, that I think she needs to be involved. Yeah, or, yeah, and there's gonna be a new one soon, so.
So Gary, have the commissioners talked about or researched it enough to say, hey, this is kind of the ballpark salary that we're gonna be looking at for an HR person, or?
no, we have not had that discussion yet. And I don't even know what the market is out there now. Pay for something like that, I don't know.
'Cause I know
so back to my original question. You guys, as far as the commissioners say you wanna fill a position or create that position, and you start actively looking for someone, I mean, okay, what's the first step?
To make sure we have funding in place,
Okay,
yes. I mean,
I think what I'm kinda hearing here is that we would be in favor of pursuing that, I don't know, Brandon?
Does every county around us have an HR? Are we like the oddball?
I think it's probably 50-50. I think you're gonna see the smaller counties probably don't, as soon as you get over a certain threshold, most of them probably do. We're always in that weird spot where we're one of the largest rural counties.
I think Shelley told me a lot of them, either most or a lot do, some hire out, And there's companies out there that do it, so it's a mixture. Yeah, and some of it is through the auditor's office with that employee. They do, depends on the size of the county.
I know when I was at Auburn, there was an HR and it worked relatively well between the police department, and that was my focus, but between the police department and the HR, because there were certain things that HR did for us, and then vice versa. Again, police always has their own SOPs, but it seemed to work well, and it did seem to be a lot more streamlined and consistent, as far as certain things. So I guess to speed things up, I think the board, and we talked about this previously, is on board with trying to look towards a HR person. If we could get maybe a little bit more direction from you guys as far as what you're thinking, pay wise, if somebody can do some research and bring that to us, I think we'd be receptive to look.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do to get that for you and bring it to your next meeting.
Gary, I'd kinda like to see if you know of, one county that just recently went to an HR, maybe check with them and see what the shortfalls were, what's the transition from having an HR to not having one, the pros and cons, and what they've experienced, I'd like to see what their comments are about that.
See what we can do.
I guess circling back to Zach and your issue with CDLs and the pay.
I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, and I understand all the departments are looking out for their employees. It's not what I'm doing here. I do have serious concerns. And the other thing is, we're the only ones public facing that are like out on the roads, not in a physical office. I'm about to lose 6 or 7 staff to retirements and other things. And you lose all of the knowledge. We have some really quality employees that have stuck it out 20 plus years, and we're getting ready to reload a lot of those positions. I mean, it just seems like a liability to not have competitive wages going into that. So, I mean, we're a big department, we do a lot of things, but I think not getting this thing right is gonna be the biggest liability issue going forward. I'd like to get the most qualified drivers in there, just from a safety aspect. We have our guys covering 60 to 70 miles township on their own in the winter. It's like, do you really wanna go under market and see what we can get to take on that responsibility? That's why I keep coming on, back to it, and why I won't shut up about it, because it is probably my biggest concern and fear going forward is like one bad accident, and it's like, what are we even talking about here?
Zach, I think in the meeting that I watched here last week, somebody had mentioned, I think you did, that like one person doesn't want insurance, and so that's not like a perk to them. But do you show, like perf value, the insurance value, the weed care value, or is it just the pay?
I mean, we show them all our benefits. There's a packet, Jackie provides a heck of all of that. Most of the employees coming for our jobs are already familiar with perf, because a lot of them are coming because they want to stay on perf. Like that example from the city of Fort Wayne, that was one of his first questions. Is it a perf job? He just want to confirm that. I mean, obviously, like I said, town passing that 15%, I think that just kind of shows you in your own backyard. People know that we're behind.
I'm not gonna speak for the town, cause I'm not gonna, but, for my personal side of it, for the pay raise, it wasn't, we're not talking apples to apples. There's been a lot going on with the town over the last 4 or 5 years, and
I think you
So-
mentioned before, their insurance was quite.
yeah, so it's just not about the pay, so.
What was that for everybody or just certain?
Everybody but Parks
Yeah. I was not at the meeting, I know what happened, I'm not gonna, Okay, what was your question again?
Was that across the board for all the employees, the 15%? Or was it just certain departments?
Yeah, I'm not, You
My
bet.
understanding was all
Public knowledge.
full-time employees.
yeah, cause part-time's different and so, yeah, I'm not,
It was all full-time.
Hey Zach,
How many
if you send me
employees do
their
you have?
employee codes, I can have them run it for the region. Or what your job titles are, I can have them run it for the
20-something.
region and give you an estimate of what everybody has.
yeah,
I mean, we pulled the actual salary ordinances from everybody regionally for this year.
Well, they can do a breakdown individually,
Yeah, I did that
okay.
personally.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not here to say comparison, but I'm
I'd
just
like to see
saying,
it.
I mean, that's somebody who at a certain point, they're gonna be hiring CDL drivers too. We're, we're competitive with them. But, they're getting a pretty big bump there, so it's gonna continue to be competitive across the board. I know we pulled wage data, I know we have these real life examples, I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to give you all the information I have.
That CDL licensing, these corporations, I always see sign-on bonus. I mean, have you ever looked into anything like that to attract employees? Some type of a incentive or sign-on bonus, is that, it'd be feasible to even do that?
I don't even know how you would do it because we pay all of our drivers essentially the same amount
Right.
of longevity. So you're gonna have a guy that's been here 20 years making less than someone who just started. I mean, the problem is our wages are below average. We just need to get our wages up. That will fix the problem. But we're just kind of stuck
I
in.
tell you, the insurance is really good. So that's above average, I can tell you that. So, by switching from the town to the county, it's,
So you get people, once they see that wage, then that's drives them away.
I mean,
That's what you talked about. Gotta
well,
help
I
them.
mean, we got someone we got someone from LaGrange County, which is the current vacancy. And he took a pay cut because he was at a higher level position over there. And he left for, he took a pay cut and then he left for a higher paying job. Same thing, we'll occasionally get people who, if there's a shutdown on the private side, will come work for us, but as soon as the private side picks back up, they leave. The biggest thing we have for us is if someone lives in Noble County, especially if they live close to Albion, it's a big benefit for them to work here because they don't have to drive, they don't have all the costs associated with that. But even now, that's been a difficult upsell, just with how high the private sector market is and then even us being below average for the public sector market. And I mean, this all goes back to 2022, the federal changes to CDL. I mean, it didn't come out of nowhere, but with those changes across the board, CDL is more difficult to obtain, therefore the cost of all those positions are up.
Okay. Any other questions? Take your time, Zach.
Thank you.
Ben. And actually, sorry, we're behind, but, Melanie, we had Ben here to talk about abatements prior to you coming, because we're all going for back to September 1. But since we're running a little behind and we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just let you talk to us about the abatement application and then we'll get some information from Ben as well.
Perfect. So Metalcraft is here, they are looking for an abatement. They're investing $115,000 into their facility up in Wawaka. It's going to help improve their shipping capabilities and procedures by adding protective outdoor staging areas as well. If you drive by, you can kind of see, what they are working on. Currently, they have 16 employees with an annual wage of $174,000, and they're looking to create an additional employee with a wage of $42,000, which might seem low, but it does fit in with what we pay here in Milton County.
Okay, any questions?
Is that personal property?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to make sure.
No, real estate abatement, I'm sorry, it's real
It's a
estate.
real abatement?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is a little different, it doesn't,
There's a difference.
yeah, it doesn't fully affect
Right.
with SB one, but, so I provided, since it was lower, a 3, a 5, and a 7-year abatement schedule for them.
I know we don't all maybe understand fully the effects of Senate Bill 1 just yet, but is it my understanding that companies like this are gonna be receiving, well, now that the personal property number is going up, they're gonna be receiving, a decent deduction, I would assume, from that.
It's, your company has to have, on personal property, you have to have, more than $2 million to even pay tax on. So anything below 2 million, your taxes.
So they're likely to see a savings.
If this is real property, that's one of the reasons why I asked. So real property and personal property, they're totally different. And real property abatements are actually the auditor's job, but I've had to look at them enough where I know what's going on. So, we would look at the initial property, what the assessment is currently. And then whatever they're saying, this is what we're doing, we're gonna add this value. You guys can approve it, I mean, the full amount. But when it's put in place, it's called a 322 that's gotta be filed with the auditor's office, saying we're ready. We've got our infrastructure done, our improvements are in place. But we would go out and reassess that to see if it brought, how much value it brought. Now, we've had properties before where you guys have approved a $1.2 million improvement abatement on real property, real estate. It only brought like $250,000 of actual value. And the company got with me and it's like, well, we put all this in, and I said it doesn't equate to that much value being increased. And it's the same here. I mean, they can put that in and you guys could approve for the whole thing for however many years, because real property is the easiest one to do. And what if it only makes the difference of maybe 50,000? It only increases. That's all that we could give them for the abatement.
We have no way of, there's no way for us to know any different until you go out
And take a look. Yeah.
So it's really kind of backwards of what it should be.
Kinda is, yeah, exactly. I mean, a property record card should, come with real property abatements. And you guys have one?
No,
Okay,
never included them, so I'm
okay.
making.
Honestly, for council, on any real property abatement, you guys should have a property record card, a current one, so it'd be 2025, to know what the value of the real estate actually even is. Land is something that cannot be abated, so it would be out, you would look at what the improvements are. And see, this is how much it is, if this was added to it, could this potentially bring that much value? Sometimes some improvements would actually bring more value than what you would, actually have for an abatement. And the abatement years are structured by you. There's no set, time on that. Now, the real property abatement, that is something that you guys really need to keep an eye on, because I even brought one of our, the 103 lawn, which is what most companies would file. And there's 4 different pools that you would put the equipment in. Like the first one, and you need to know what the federal tax life is on the equipment, and I talked to Melody about that. That's, you wanna make sure anybody that's filing that abatement with you guys could tell you, the tax life on that equipment is 10 years. Because then you would be able to look at the pool and say, okay, it would go into this pool because that means it's worth that many years of depreciation. But like on this, if this was real or personal property and say it was just a pool one, and that's 1 to 4 years of life, it's only got 4 years that it's even worth anything. In the very first year, it depreciates 65%. So you would have its initial cost at 65% less and then get hit with your tax abatement. So, and the bad thing is on that, the way it used to be before, it's now called SEA one, since rolled that since it's now law. It used to be there was always a 30% kind of like a retainer. So your equipment could depreciate fully out and it was still worth 30% regardless. And then for years, it could be 50 years old, if they were still using it, there was still 30% of life on it, of value. It goes away now. New equipment, like if this was a 4-year piece of equipment, federal tax life, you guys could throw a 5-year abatement on it, never see a dime, truly, because it's gonna be off its schedule within 4 years. Now I brought the estimator 103 along. I'd like you guys to have that, but I think truly you guys should know on personal property, it should be one of the requirements. You wanna know how long that equipment is going to last. What is its federal tax life?
I've got a question on this. Melanie, your subject on your letter was for a personal property tax
Yeah,
abatement.
That's my fault, cause I didn't change it.
Well, and then you've got that, but your resolution says it's for a personal property abatement. I don't
Sorry.
know if this is real estate or
It's
are you
real.
building onto the building? Or are you putting piece of equipment in?
They are improving their shipping ability, so they're working on like a parking lot and everything, so that's
That's real,
mistake
that's
on my
real
part.
property. So that's improving.
Yeah.
I need to know the paperwork now.
Yeah,
I
well,
can get that. I can
the real estate, like I said, that's the easy, because you can know what the value of the property is. And in theory, if we know what the equipment is, we can, on paper, say, we've added this to the assessment, here's how much assessed value it could bring. I mean, we can do that without looking at it, we would just guess, and, we wouldn't actually put it on, we could kind of do, work the numbers and tell you, this is what we believe the value would be, and this is how much value would gain.
So Ben, on this, let's say that, right now, the assessed valuation, is $329, let's say that they put 115 in it, and you say maybe it went up 40,000 on the assessed valuation. What value on the property taxes change would that be on, I know, I'm just asking a question, but.
So you gotta think the change would be whatever taxing district, well, it would be the taxing district it's in, but also, you would have to look at what your schedule states, because, $40,000, truly isn't a lot of tax. I mean, I think like Orange Township, our tax rate's 1.53 some odd number, so it's not a lot of value. But then when you go, like, you go 100% the first year, there's nothing, and then however you stagger it, it just gets, it's less and less, but eventually, on real property, you do get the full value, because there's no 30% on that, it's just the full value. And typically with real estate, it's always going up, which is what it's been doing.
But I guess to kind of cut to the chase with this, at 115, and this is gonna hit that $2 million threshold, so they're
Well,
not gonna
this
get-
isn't real property.
This is real property, so real property, you never have to worry about that.
Okay.
Real property meaning the building.
I'm guessing a company like this pays personal property taxes for
They
their
would,
equipment,
they would,
and they
yeah.
just got a $2 million abatement
They
essentially.
got a
from the state.
freebie, yeah. They don't pay tax on it, But if, now, the thing is a caveat on that is if you're over 2 million, if you're $2,001,000, then you will pay tax on it. There, you know, it's not a deduction. No, the full $2,001,000, because it's not a deduction. It's an actual, you either have it or you don't.
I think, I mean, as a rule, the board's been very pro abatement in the past because it seemed to, you know, work and added employees to the county but everything's changed, so.
Real property for you guys it should be some of the easiest ones to do, honestly, because you look at what real estate's been doing, it's just been appreciating. Even on commercial property, which the depreciation schedule is very high, the appreciation is still, you know, fighting against that. Where, you know, like on the residents, you know, I think I told the council when Sue Glick was here, when Senator Glick was here, 5 years ago in 2020, our median sales price on a residential property was $120,000. Today it's $230,000. That's what appreciation has done. So it's the easiest thing for you guys to say, we're gonna abate that, where you guys can then take a look at what the parameters are for the county, saying it brings this many jobs, or it retains this many jobs. It's personal property where you really have to watch what you're doing, because you'll give an abatement too long and the equipment's not even good for that.
So is Senate Bill 1 not going to affect property tax?
It affects property tax for the residents because it raises the deduction, the homestead, for individuals who own primary residence. Starting next year, the $48,000 homestead is reduced to $40,000. And the supplemental, which is 35%, goes up to 40. And every year for 5 years, that moves until the homestead is fully gone. The dollar amount is fully to zero, but the supplemental is increased to 66.7%. It's huge. It's 2/3 the value of your primary residence will be the deduction of your home. They also did on Cap 2 property, which is rental properties, second homes, even farmland. They start getting a deduction next year. Next year it starts out at 6%. Within 5 years, it's at 33.4%. One of the things that it does not get a deduction is Cap 3, which are commercial and industrial properties. They will be paying their full boat on taxes. The bad thing is, and I'm glad the newspaper's here, is with SEA 1, it was it was a phase-in. They were phasing in that deduction as they were phasing out the homestead. Well, they went retroactive on everybody's solar, geo, wind. There was other, like a World War I surviving spouse. I mean, there are other deductions they took out retroactive. They went back to 2025. So if you had a geothermal, you just lost it, and you'll pay full tax on that next year. Yeah, which is not right. I've spoke with 5 different appraisers about geothermal, and when I was talking at the state with DLGF, they do give us local control to some degree. So we are going to start adding back in the heat and air as a normal furnace on somebody's home that has geothermal, because they lost their deduction, and sound value the geo at 5,000. So it'll be a reduction on that, so you're not fully taxed. I mean, I've got somebody's got an appeal right now, and it's on value, but they have a geothermal that's 10 years old, that's $35,000. When I talked with my appraisers, and they were all appraisers from Noble County, they said even on brand new geothermals, they're only giving about a $5,000 allowance on those. So we're looking at that. Solar on residential properties, they said they give nothing. So if they're looking at that as being true market value, that's what I'm gonna follow. I guess I'll do it till the state says, hey, you're in trouble, because that's what I'm gonna do, because the state didn't bother helping our taxpayers out and phasing that out. They took it.
So going back to what we have in front of us here, folks, so we've got unless we have other questions, I'm gonna kind of try to push this along a little bit. So we've got the tax abatement from Middlecraft for $115,000, and that's for real property. And the schedule there shows you, the abatement, with the abatement and without the abatement, which really is not a lot of money, honestly. But
Doug, I would like to interject on something. Since the forms were filled out on the personal property form, I would request that even if you approve, that they be filled out properly.
correct.
Yeah, this one is correct, it's my memo.
Okay,
Well,
alright,
the
okay.
resolution
Yeah.
also
Okay.
is,
Yeah.
The is that the resolution?
Yeah.
it says it's for personal property
So, I have a
improvement.
note already.
Okay. At least, I would say at least within a couple of weeks before we start getting the forms coming back to us, that they be corrected.
It'd be
Be tomorrow, that's perfect. I mean, I wanna work with Melody and, you know, the EDC, actually all of our EDCs on what's going on with these abatements in the state. Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I know they're two separate things, but is there any way of knowing whether or not this company has over $2 million in?
I can look it up.
That's a good question. Might affect my decision, they're already getting a huge.
Can I borrow this real quick?
What have you got, Ben? I've got property tax up here, what do you want?
Look and see, Jackie, if you can find out if Mulholland Fab LLC, or Metalcraft, however it's called, has a personal property tax.
They do, it's two, I did see that. I don't know what this, it's in Elkhart Township, assessed value of $210,000. So that will go away.
Well, that's not a whole lot, and I can't go disclosing their number because it's confidential, but I can go get you an answer. Well, that's what the net certified was, so we look at total AV, total acquisition. So if the total acquisition is under 2 million, then there's no tax. That means starting next year, they won't pay a tax. Yeah, there's no personal property tax on that. Yeah, your acquisition cost is the cost of your equipment.
What's the feeling of the board?
Okay.
No, I think that's a.
Let me go make a phone call downstairs. I'll have it pulled and let you know.
Let's go ahead and move on, and we'll come back to the tax abatement. That works. We're a little bit behind, so first update.
Hi, how are you guys? I'll try to be super quick, I know you're running behind. I provided some of the lead screening, childhood lead screening and case management information. As you can see, there were 3 new cases initiated. Within established and potential partnerships, just an update with the Noble County Wellness Committee, Jackie sits on that too. We're preparing to roll out the 2026 information. That's been budgeted for next year, so we'll continue that, encourage county employees to get healthier. The team did go to the Council on Aging and administered respiratory vaccines. So I think that went well.
Give me that back.
I'm
It's
sorry.
under 2 million.
Under 2 million.
Yeah.
That's okay. And then, let's see, I've expanded the role into, participating in the Be Noble Board actually, and the Hoosier Fall Coalition. So one of our key performance outcome measures is working with the Parkview and others to try to reduce unintentional falls requiring hospitalizations. So I think that'll tie in well with that coalition membership. With Bowen Health, they do have a nurse practitioner starting this month, so we're hoping to be able to loop Parkview in and address safe sleep education. And I also met with them on, at the end of September about other ways we can work to move those key performance outcome measures as well, those numbers. So, they are offering weight management goals for all of their patients that they see, which helps, with chronic disease prevention. They offer tobacco cessation, so that'll be important for any women that become pregnant or are pregnant, as far as their key performance outcome measures go. And then we're talking about partnering with them to, regularly hold the community baby fair. They had that in July of this year. The health department had that in collaboration with some others. With Cole Center Family YMCA, that was our only funding request that we've had so far, and the HFI committee met on October 21, just to update you guys, and requested more information, but they thought it was positive to continue that program. So I think once we get the additional information from the guy, they'll approve that. And we're planning for the 2026 bike safety events. We're meeting with Parkview, with their team on Thursday of this week about a potential grant opportunity related to the prevention of falls. So hopefully we can move forward with that. The heavy lift of applying is on Parkview. It's a state grant, so hopefully they'll wanna do that and we can join them. And then, let's see, we did have the Deputy State Health Commissioner stop on the 30th, and we had a good discussion about Health First Indiana and the successful community partnerships that we've had and the impact of those changing, the change in funding, so. You guys have any questions?
What was the turnout like for Weaver's county tour? I saw that advertised quite a bit, but did you get?
Yes, we had probably 7 to 10 people from the state that came, including the deputy health commissioner. She came in place of Dr. Weaver. Unfortunately, something had come up and Dr. Weaver wasn't able to attend. So we had pushed that on social media. We didn't have a lot, maybe like 15 people from the community. So unfortunately, we did have a very good turnout for it. Yeah.
For our community, it was our Halloween, and it was just a bad day. Everybody was preparing and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the state gave us the date and the time, so hopefully next year we could, if they return, we'll.
I wanted to go, but I could not, we were prepping too much, so.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a lot of trick or treating and a lot of partners that participate in those things, so.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, I appreciate the
Thank you.
information.
Have a good day.
You too. Let's get it back to the abatements.
You say that was under 2 million?
Is this under two?
Yeah.
Real personal property
Further questions or discussion?
Our decision on that, either approving for 3 or 5, correct? That's what you want.
I mean, we can not approve it all.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You can make it 1 year, 2 years, you know.
Yeah, whatever you
Those
want.
are just the guidelines.
Just examples of it.
So, doing this project's gonna, for the stonework and improvement to the staging area is gonna create one additional job.
Yes.
I kind of feel like if we're getting that big of a discount already, then why do we need to
kind of
do more?
That's a good point. Are they aware of the changes? I wonder if that, so they're aware of that 2 million threshold and
Yeah, we've shared that information with everybody, that abatements are gonna be changing because of SB 1, so.
Have any further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Oh, let Brandon do it. He spoke up first.
I would make a motion that we not approve the abatement.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Brandon, a second from Casey to deny the motion for the abatement. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0 to deny the abatement. And I'm sure you'll pass on the feelings of the board and why you did that.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Additionals.
Shelley had requested an estimate for 25,000 for the King Courthouse. I had a thing come in for, waste over the courthouse. There was a bunch of, pigeon stuff over there, so
Yeah, I got pictures.
I included that 5,000, so making that from 25 to 30,000 for the additional for that King Courthouse.
Okay, so we have an additional from Shelley for a total of $30,000. And everybody's clear on the additional 5,000 that was in there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Further discussion, questions?
To approve.
Motion from Mary to approve, second from Tom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes. We have, CCD.
Just have one complaint. Denied. It'll be paid by Casey Myers, since he got 50% pay raise.
That's not true.
We have
Being efficient.
$673.08 for clearing the closet.
It's $664.77, there's tax on that one train bill that had to be taken off.
Did they take it off? I
Well,
tried to
I
call
haven't received
them.
anything from that, but we're just gonna pay that without the tax, if they want something, so,
I don't know what went through.
okay.
For
I
that.
think Lynette said she changed it.
Okay,
To-
because Wanda, or Nicole had called Lynette, but we tried to call the company. I was on the phone for 3 different locations, so
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
don't
just-
know. That may have been paid in the full amount because we couldn't get a response.
Oh, really? I would've just paid the $482.66 without the response from them, so,
Okay,
but,
I'm not sure what it went through was.
yeah, they should know better than to put tax, so they've been there now, they know.
So what's our corrected amount?
It should be $664.77, but like I said, can you look that up?
Yeah, I was
Jackie,
gonna see if I could
paid.
find that, because I talked to Nicole about that. We didn't want it to be sitting out there and they draw a penalty on $8 or something, but I tried to call California, I think, I finally got somebody to talk to in Indianapolis, but they never got back with me, so. Let me see if I can find.
Can we just make a motion with that change? I mean, we're not gonna pay the tax anyways.
Well, they've been already
They
paid,
may have already paid it.
but so you have to have a motion to approve for the full
What was, yeah,
673.08 then, so,
that was for the train, let me.
yep, train. You need the invoice number, Jackie?
No, I'm just gonna look it up by vendor
Okay.
and see what we paid.
While we're waiting, any questions for the sheriff?
Got any more money? Federal?
We haven't received anything lately, since the shutdown, so we won't get anything until they go back into session, so.
What about the state?
State, we did receive some for housing our DOC, but I got a meeting Wednesday, we're going down with our numbers to see where they're at and how we're comparing where they came up with their number to see how they're calculating everything, cause I'd like to get this back on the right sheet so we're tracking correctly for between their agency and our agency, so
How much of a discrepancy?
I would say close to 100,000.
Oh, when did like
Yeah, they owed us two,
four and you
yeah,
paid about two?
they paid 170 something already, so.
So are they up to date on pay?
No.
Nowhere close, are they?
No, not anywhere close. That's what we're going down to find out, so. And we're holding about
Take some
160.
passengers with you and say, here you go.
Yeah, right.
Here's now.
Yeah, we'll drop them off at RDC.
Take a bus.
But yeah, we're down to about 161 is where our total is right now, and that's with 17 federal needs, so.
They did pay the 490.97.
Okay,
So if
So the-
there's an adjustment made, it will just be on the next bill,
Okay.
come from training.
so it'll be, yeah, so basically it's for the 673.08 then.
Okay, so the 7308 with the understanding that there'll be a credit on the next.
Maybe.
Hopefully, hopefully.
Yes. So can you let us know that, Jackie, if that?
I'll try to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah.
I was on the phone for several minutes trying to get that straightened out and I couldn't get a answer, so.
And this is a regular vendor you're doing business with?
Yeah, they should know that, so I mean, I will get a hold of them as well and say, listen, so, I mean, we caught this, it wasn't until after the fact, so.
Okay, so I have a claim for the CCD fund, $673.08 with the understanding there'll be a credit coming for the tax on that. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Brandon,
I'll second.
second from Max. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There you go. Well, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and then I've got a couple transfers. First one, I guess I'll do them by date, so that's the 29th of October, and that's from Judge Klaus. That's transferring funds from education and training, physicians, printing, dues and subscriptions, for a total of $4,292, and that's going to special appointments.
I'll make that motion for that amount.
Got a motion from Brandon, I have a second from Tom. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the transfer, and then I have another transfer from the health department. Transfer $150 from education and training, deputy health, $100 from education and training to food sanitary, and transfer $8,000 from the school liaison nurse to the HFI coordinator. That, those funds are needed for payroll through the end of the year.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, it's a motion, to approve from Casey. Got a second?
I'll second.
Second from Brandon. Any further discussion? Just a point, Jackie, will they, that's for the end of the year, and they're not gonna have to transfer any more funds, correct?
Well, I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, if something comes up, I hate to say.
I mean, as far as-
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Another title wrong, I said health director. Yeah, beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
Would be fine.
$4.08. There you go.
We've got a couple more signatures, I think.
Yeah. Who started school?
Got it? Anything for good of the cause? Yes.
I'd like to thank Gary and commissioners and even Ryan up at the courthouse, they went above and beyond, way up high, fixing pigeon stuff. Because, for the Christmas lights, it wasn't because that, it needed done. I've got pictures before and I'll have pictures, we gotta go up there and test the electrical, and get that all done, but in prior years, it's been a nightmare. But the janitor staff and maintenance staff, and they went above and beyond. You know, they've done a lot of work, and the contractors were, I think, pretty amazing for the price of what they did and what they've done, so.
Is there a way to deter? Can you deter the pigeons?
They did, I've got pictures and I'll have more, I'll send it to everybody, but it's just over the years that netting up there, it just, simply put, I mean, who wants to go up there and check it? And make sure, it's been years and years and years.
You're like the Home Depot, and they have like hawk squawking on.
Well, they
Oh,
did,
is that what?
yeah, they did put some up there, but, you know, they're just,
Scare 'em off.
you're talking hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds,
Like dead ones?
yes.
Glenn estimated, you know, based on the 5-gallon bucket, they were dropping down the chute about 5,000 pounds of stuff.
Yeah, so kudos goes to Glenn and his
That's a lot of
team,
weight.
and,
Yeah,
you know, the commissioners for,
I think at DOC's, I talked to Randy, bring his work crew in tomorrow morning, I think, to help Glenn cart it out in bags, it's,
yeah, you know, and thanks to Glenn, he really cares about the courthouse, and I mean, everybody does, but only so many people go up there.
Right.
So when it starts snowballing, there's a problem. And that's when he, you know, we were gonna talk Christmas lights and we started seeing stuff like, man, somebody forgot to put the hatch back. And then it just started layering down.
Maybe that's where I should
So, yeah, so thanks.
I'm still, I'm not gonna go up and check it, just. so-
I will.
There's a
I
way to
gotta
go
go up.
upstairs, man, I'm not going.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotta go up to get some stuff, so.
So anybody that's a fan of the group Widespread Panic, we have one of the best lyrics in the world is washing windows when there's, you ever wonder why, or how it is washing windows when there's pigeons on the roof? You know, I just think that's a great lyric. Anyway, so much for that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mary, do I have a second? Second from Tom, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.